Imagine you're a traveler in the year 1300, the sun setting as you journey toward a distant market or shrine. The air is thick with the scent of earth and wood smoke, and every hoofbeat echoes in the quiet, open countryside. You're not just moving from one place to another, you're stepping into a world where every mile is uncertain and every shadow could hide a threat. But this isn't a modern road trip. This is medieval Europe, where travel is a gamble with your life. There are no streetlights, no police patrols, and no reliable maps. The roads are little more than muddy tracks, winding through wild, untamed land. Every journey is a leap of faith, and every traveler knows the risks. The greatest fear, the forest. Not just trees and animals, but a realm of chaos and danger. The woods are thick and impenetrable, swallowing the last rays of sunlight and turning day into night in an instant. To medieval minds, the forest was alive with menace, a place where the rules of civilization no longer applied. For medieval people, the forest marked the edge of the known world, a place where civilization ended. Beyond the last ploughed field, the trees closed in, mysterious and forbidding. Maps often faded into green, with warnings scrawled in the margins. Here be monsters. Villages were islands of safety, and the woods were a shadowy unknown, full of monstrous beasts, spirits, and most terrifyingly other people. Bandits and outlaws made their homes in the thickets, waiting for the unwary. Wolves and bears prowled the undergrowth, and stories of witches and ghosts haunted every fireside. These weren't just campfire tales, they were warnings rooted in harsh reality. Every story carried a lesson. The forest was not to be trusted. Even the bravest knights and seasoned merchants respected its dangers, passing down their caution to the next generation. The forest was perpetual twilight, every sound a possible threat, every path a maze. The wind in the branches could be a wild animal, or something worse. The deeper you went, the more the world you knew seemed to slip away, replaced by a primal, unpredictable wilderness. To enter was to be stripped of the protections of law and community. The moment you crossed the boundary, you were on your own, relying only on your wits and luck. There was no guarantee you'd ever return. A cry for help would vanish among the ancient oaks. The silence was absolute, broken only by the snap of a twig or the distant howl of a wolf. In the forest you were invisible, and so were your fears. Most travelers avoided the woods, even if it meant a longer, harder journey. They would circle for miles, sticking to open ground, clinging to the safety of the known. The extra days on the road were a small price to pay for survival. The shortest route was rarely the safest. A tempting shortcut through the trees could end in disaster, and everyone knew someone who had vanished without a trace. The forest was a test of survival, one most people had no intention of taking. Only the desperate or the foolhardy braved its depths, and even they did so with fear in their hearts. Their goal wasn't adventure, it was simply to arrive alive. Every safe arrival was a small victory, a reason for gratitude and relief. In the medieval world, the forest was a boundary best left uncrossed, a living reminder that just beyond the edge of the familiar, danger always waited in the dark. Of all the dangers lurking in the medieval forest, none was more unpredictable or immediate than man himself. The woods were not just home to wild animals and mysterious spirits, but also to those who had chosen to live outside the law. The most immediate threat to any traveler was the presence of desperate men, hiding in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Bandits and outlaws found sanctuary in the dense, tangled woods, living beyond the reach of the king's justice and the eyes of the law. Here they could vanish without a trace, protected by the forest's darkness. They watched the winding roads with hungry eyes, waiting to ambush merchants, pilgrims, or even entire families. No one was truly safe, no matter how careful. These weren't romantic outlaws from legend, they were ruthless, hardened by hunger and poverty, driven by desperation to violence and theft. Forests like Sherwood in England and the Black Forest in Germany became infamous for harboring such gangs, their names whispered in fear by travelers and villagers alike. These outlaws set up illegal tolls, blocked narrow paths, and attacked travelers without warning, often leaving no survivors to tell the tale. The forest gave them the advantage of surprise and concealment, allowing them to melt away into the undergrowth after a raid. Travelers moved in groups, hoping that numbers would deter attack. But the fear was constant. Even the bravest felt a chill when entering the shadowy woods. Stories of vanished travelers and slain merchants haunted the villages, serving as grim reminders of the dangers that waited beneath the trees. In these lawless forests, it was the outlaws who ruled, preying on the vulnerable and turning the woods into a place of fear and uncertainty for all who dared to pass through. Forests weren't just hideouts for bandits, armies used them too. The thick canopy and tangled undergrowth offered perfect cover, making it nearly impossible for enemies to spot large groups moving silently through the shadows. Commanders knew the woods could hide entire forces, perfect for ambushes. A well-planned attack from the trees could turn the tide of battle in moments, catching even the most disciplined troops off guard. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest showed how devastating a surprise attack could be. Roman legions, confident in their strength, were utterly destroyed by Germanic warriors who used the forest to their advantage. In the woods, heavy armor and cavalry were useless. Chaos reigned. Horses stumbled, knights became easy targets, and the dense terrain turned order into confusion. Ambushes were swift and deadly, arrows and spears from the shadows, confusion on narrow paths. Attackers melted away before a counterattack could even begin, leaving only panic behind. Even the best-prepared armies feared the forest, sending scouts ahead and advancing cautiously. Every step forward could mean walking into a trap, so vigilance was constant, but the threat never vanished. Disaster could strike from the silent trees at any moment. The sense of unease was ever present, as the forest seemed to watch and wait. The forest was a natural fortress for those who knew its secrets. Fallen logs, thick brush, and hidden paths became defenses, turning the landscape itself into a weapon. For soldiers and travelers alike, it was a place of constant danger. Every journey through the woods was a test of nerves, skill, and luck. The woods turned every march into a gamble with fate, where a single misstep could mean disaster, and only the most cautious survived to tell the tale. Even without bandits or armies, the forest itself was a brutal adversary. Roads were muddy tracks, easily turning to quagmires after rain. Carts bogged down, animals struggled, and travelers slogged through endless mud. Every step was exhausting, every mile a battle against the ground. Fallen trees, tangled roots, and steep, slippery slopes made progress slow and dangerous. Crossing rivers without bridges risked losing everything to the current. A stuck cart was an open invitation to predators, human or animal. Supplies dwindled, exhaustion set in, and morale crumbled. The forest wore travelers down, body and spirit. The very earth seemed determined to stop you. The forest's shadows hid more than outlaws. They were home to wild beasts. Wolves and bears were the most feared, symbols of the forest's savage power. Wolves hunted in packs, their howls a chilling warning in the night. Bears, powerful and unpredictable, could kill with a single blow. Wild boars, aggressive and armed with tusks, were equally dangerous. Every sound in the dark could signal a predator's approach. Travelers built large campfires and kept watch through the night. The constant threat of attack meant no one could truly relax. In the forest, humans were intruders, no longer at the top of the food chain. Survival meant constant vigilance. The forest's greatest danger was isolation. In the open, help was never far, but under the trees you were utterly alone. Paths were confusing, landmarks hidden, and getting lost was easy. A wrong turn could mean days wandering in circles, food and hope running out. No maps, no signposts, no one to ask for help. Even a twisted ankle could be fatal. No one would find you. If attacked, your cries would vanish into the silence. Many vanished without a trace, their stories becoming cautionary tales. The forest's silence was not peaceful but menacing. To enter was to accept that you were on your own. Medieval people survived by avoiding the forest whenever possible. They chose longer routes through open land, connecting villages and towns. Safety lay in visibility and numbers. Travelers formed groups and hired guards. Pilgrims and merchants moved in convoys, pooling resources for protection. Journeys were planned around safe havens, walled towns, monasteries, fortified inns. Monasteries offered sanctuary, food and shelter, even in remote areas. Travel was a careful dance from one point of safety to the next. Medieval people were pragmatic, relying on planning and cooperation. Their strength was in community, not reckless bravery. Survival meant using civilization's network to outsmart the wild. The medieval forest was more than trees. It was the ultimate survival test. It shaped lives, journeys, and fears, demanding respect from all who faced it. Dangers ranged from bandits and ambushes to wild beasts and isolation. Survival wasn't about fighting, but about knowing which dangers to avoid. Medieval travelers stuck to safe routes, traveled in groups, and planned every step. They understood their limits and used the strength of community. The lesson is timeless. Survival starts with understanding your world. Sometimes the bravest choice is to walk away from danger. The wisdom of the medieval traveler was in caution, not conquest. That's the ultimate survival skill, then and now.